Hi everyone, and welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to cover our syllabus. I'm going to highlight just a few areas, but I really encourage you to read through the entire syllabus just to make sure that you understand the expectations for all of the assignments. So let's start on page 1 for my contact info. Even though I have an email address, sometimes my email gets a little chaotic. I really encourage you to contact me through Canvas inbox because I get this beautiful little pop-up on my phone that tells me that somebody has just messaged me. So Canvas inbox, I'm typically a little bit more responsive, and that's really because I get that pop-up. The next area that I want to highlight is on page 3. You can see this is our grading scheme. Our total possible points are 1,050, and that's if you don't do any of the extra credit that's available to you. This 1,050 points includes discussion, homework, quizzes, the course project, and of course the final exam. This is how the point range plays out for A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. And then I want to draw your attention to this particular paragraph here. So balancing our lives can be challenging. We've got a lot of priorities and we have a lot of competing priorities. So please let me know in advance of the due date if you realize that you need an extra day or two to complete an assignment. The weekly schedule is as follows. By Wednesday evening at 11:55 p.m., so just shortly before midnight, your initial discussion post is due. Now, you know that you need 2 discussion posts. You need your initial and you need your response. But the initial one is due by Wednesday shortly before midnight. By Friday, shortly before midnight, your homework is due. And the great thing about the homework is that you don't have to complete it in one sitting. So you can begin it, save your work, and then return later and finish it. If you do not finish it by Friday at 11:55, it's not going to automatically submit for you. You actually have to physically go in and submit. Again, if you feel like you're not going to be able to finish your homework on time, message me immediately so that we can set up a schedule for when you will be able to complete it. Your response to the discussion post is due shortly before midnight on Saturday, and your quiz is also due at the same time. Now, your quizzes are different from your homework. Once you open the quiz, you must complete it in one sitting. You can't go back and retake the quiz or begin it at one time and then come back and finish it 4 or 5 hours later. Right below this, you have a schedule of all of the assignments. And the one thing that I want to highlight is that your project does not have a due date for every week. Items that are blank simply mean that there's nothing due for that particular week. We have a syllabus quiz. That's what's going to start this whole class. Then you have your homework. We have discussion board. And I want to point out how discussion boards are graded. So you have a maximum of 10 points for each one of your discussion posts. There are 4 criteria that I'm looking at. We have research and supporting evidence, analysis and recommendations, interaction, and writing competency. You'll notice that out of the 10 points, 5 of those points are in the analysis and recommendation. So what we're looking for is a clear interpretation and an application of the concept. That's what we're looking for, right? The interaction is how you interacted with fellow students, and the writing competency is just making sure that we are catching ourselves, making sure that we're not making grammatical errors. For quizzes, it typically takes 60 minutes to complete a quiz, but the quizzes are available to you for a maximum of 2.5 hours. So that gives everyone enough time to read through the question, perform any calculations, and select the correct answer. The managerial accounting project is a little bit more involved. And so you have an entire section on page 6 that tells you what is expected and how much time you should devote to this particular project. There are videos that will be provided to help you understand what's expected for a particular tab in your workbook. And while I love group work, I love collaboration. I think that that's how we learn. We learn so well with collaboration. But when it comes time to turn in your project, please ensure that you submit your work versus the work of the group that you're working with. Your final exam is really similar to the quiz. It typically takes 90 to 105 minutes to complete, but it's open for 3.5 hours. Again, the final has to be completed in one sitting, and it is comprehensive. So it will cover all of the material that we will walk through during our semester. The last area that I really want to talk about is the administration, and specifically academic integrity. So we want to make sure that we guard against plagiarism, and some of the best ways to guard against plagiarism is just to understand better how to cite someone else's work. So we can use what's called APA format when we cite someone else's work. The Purdue University Online Writing Lab, which a lot of people just call OWL, can provide you the right format and the right thought process when you're citing work. And here's a link down here that takes you to their resources. On the last page, I really want to talk about the plagiarism when it comes to an online environment. So you'll notice in your discussion questions that when you go to the question, you don't see any answers. And it kind of looks like you are the first person that's going to answer this question. What's really happening is that you won't be allowed to see other people's responses until you submit your initial discussion post. Once you submit that initial discussion post, then you can see everyone else's responses. If you submit your initial discussion post and it has no content, this is considered plagiarism because essentially you have access to everyone else's responses. If you submit your initial discussion post with no content, you will receive a 0. Sometimes the course project can become a little challenging, and there's an urge to possibly use the answers from last semester's course project. Each semester, I change the data that we're using. So number one, if you use the answers to last semester's course project, then the answers are going to be wrong, and you are also plagiarizing someone else's work. Other areas where we can find ourselves in an area, a gray area, is having a tutor or friend complete any portion of your assignment, having a reviewer make extensive revisions to your assignment, copying work submitted by another, and this includes taking pictures of someone else's work and then submitting it as your own. Using information from online information sources without proper citation. This also includes Chegg. I know that it's a resource that people go to Chegg, they get the answer, and they'll do a copy paste, and that's how they're answering discussion questions. Please guard against this as well, because this is another gray area for the academic integrity. And then, of course, having anybody represent you online for discussions, quizzes, or exams. We all work really hard, but sometimes we need a little bit of help with our basic needs, and so I want to draw your attention to the very last paragraph. Long Beach City College has some great resources if you're having trouble meeting your basic needs like safe shelter, sleep, and nutrition. So please reach out to them if you have questions or if you want to use some of their resources. So thanks so much for coming to this video, and I will see you in the next one.